All right. So we're live now. So
Now it's
it's
serious.
not like a normal. I don't know if you guys listen to podcasts. It's not like a normal one you would listen to, I guess. It's more just like we're just like having a conversation. It's not like you have to think about like that there's an audience involved. But I guess I'll start by asking you guys like why did you guys decide to I know I have it written down. You probably get this a lot. Like why did you start? Like I know it's cliche, but it's like a good place to kind of start the
Right.
conversation.
Why do we
Um,
start? Go ahead.
why do we start Ballers Nation?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're getting really specific here, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. You started it because you had an injury at the time, right?
You know, I can't even remember if I had the injury, but it was definitely during summer,
I
and it was
think it was an injury, like an ankle injury or maybe wrist, and you couldn't play basketball, and maybe it wasn't going on. Wasn't there were no basketball games on TV during during the summer.
my collarbone.
So the only way you could really interact with basketball was, I guess, through social media, which was, we were young, was still relatively new to us.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of all this excitement, Michael decided to create a basketball account. What was it called? Basketball something?
Basketball.god one two
It
three.
was like Basketball God one
I
two
mean,
three or something.
I'm trying to think, and I couldn't really remember. Like, I feel like there had to be some motivation for me to start it, and I'm not sure if it was seeing other basketball accounts or just what it was, or just my love for basketball at the time. I wasn't really sure what actually kickstarted it, but in that, like, I just started it, and then that's just how it was.
So if you think about it, really all this comes down to Michael making that decision to, click create a new account that one day. Seriously, because and like me just being I'm very I consider myself like just I don't know if futuristic is the right word, but like once I saw he had like 700 followers, I was like, "Oh, like there's some potential in this." So
Hmm.
I decided, at the time I was just, just diving into like photo editing and stuff once I got my first laptop or like, video editing. So I thought, "Oh, I can help in terms of like creating the content, but you're the more of the basketball knowledge guy or whatever." So
Picked
combine
on
the
the
two.
didn't know what he was doing, but had a decent amount of followers for what he started.
Yeah, there you go.
So is that still kind of the relationship you have now where like Ross, you do more of like the technical stuff, I guess, and Michael more like the basketball knowledge side of it? Or has
You
it
know
kind of
what?
evened out?
I say it's evened out. Michael, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I think like there are certain things I just pick up on a little quicker, I would say, but then once I explain it to
There's
Michael, like he gets it right away.
Okay.
yeah,
And then
there's
and then that's level the playing field.
All right. So like real quick, I'll explain this. Even though I said there's no audience, I'll just like explain this to people that are like watching this one day maybe. These guys, Michael here that I go to school with, and Ross here, which Michael went to high school with, they have an Instagram account called Ballers Nation, no E, which is
Thank you.
kind of
Yes, sir.
it's kind of like legendary. There's like no E.
That's right.
It makes it unique.
Forget the E.
But they have like a basketball media account. And that was another. So that leads me to another question I was going to ask you guys is what's like the image you have of like what do you want Ballers Nation to be seen as? Like a media account or like a news account or like what's kind of like the image you want to portray it as?
That's a great question.
I
So
can go ahead.
here's the one like, thing that makes this all like confusing and a lot going on. So like the clear goal would be like a media conglomerate where you look at ESPN and they're represented on all the platforms, have a very steady following across all platforms. They're on TV, you know what I mean? And listen, I'm not shooting for TV. In my opinion, TV is not the way of the future, but I think short form content is. So being comparable to some smaller uh, media conglomerates like the Clutch Points or the Bleacher Report or the Scores would be something that is like the dream. But then again, like deep down inside, I'd love to have like a thriving clothing, like athletic wear brand or something to go along with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say just in terms of like delivering like current news, old news about the like I mean, right now it's basketball, but just kind of like expanding all like across all platforms, just kind of getting our name out there because we're big on building the brand and we want people to know the name Ballers Nation. I think that's big for us. If people know the name Ballers Nation, we're doing what we want to do.
That's cool. And so I was talking to my friend yesterday who has this like little local business he runs, and he was saying like one of the things he struggled with is like motivation. Now, obviously, there's like a difference between motivation and like discipline, but I know you guys got hacked. So like, how many followers did you have when you were hacked?
38.4 thousand.
Wow.
And 38.412. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like for that, it was that serious at the time.
So
I'll tell you something that's funny real quick.
yeah.
I think it was how many days ago that we were on FaceTime, Michael, and I asked you a trivia question. I said, what was the player that was on the last picture we posted before we were hacked?
And
he,
it took me all of 5 seconds to say.
it took him
Hassan
5
Whiteside.
seconds, and he knew it was Hassan Whiteside. That was like our last post.
Wow. That's crazy. That's so 30 about 30,000, and you guys are at like 90,000 right now. So you came back stronger than ever, which is pretty cool. But like,
It took some time, but we ended up getting past.
yeah. So like by then, when you guys before you got hacked, did you have like a similar vision of like what you wanted Ballers Nation to be? And did that kind of like vision help you like stay motivated to like regrow the account?
Here.
I think your mic's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I don't, I know it wasn't that long ago, but I feel like I was a little too young to really understand what exactly the potential for the account was. I kind of feel like my mindset was more in the short term at that point, thinking I'm just here for growth. How many followers can I get in the next month, in the next 2 months, rather than thinking, where could this be in 2-3 years?
Right.
Right. Yeah, I was definitely in the category of I want to see like I was just like grow, grow, grow. I want to grow it, but I wanted to grow it because I knew that if we grow this, then it's going to be bigger and more people are going to know about it, which is my end goal to a lot of things. I kind of just want people to know about it, and it's hard to say like you want something to be like a household name, but like if you look at the extreme vision is how many people can we get this in the household? Like how many people are gonna just go say Bars Nation? Why not? That's the dream, right?
Right.
I would,
So
I would just say I want to do something different. If I feel like my dream would be to pick apart my favorite aspects of all these different companies that like people strive to become or strive to build up their own company towards. Like I'd like to pick apart like my, ESPN personnel with Bleacher Report images and just like pick up all the and kind of put it into one and create like, the best, which is so cliche to say, but just like I don't want to chase after one certain image. I kind of just want to like take the best from
multifaceted.
everything. Yeah.
That's cool. So like what do you think is some of the ways you guys have tried to kind of like separate yourself from like some similar type accounts?
Great question. I would say live streams is definitely one.
Live streaming, linking our own personal names to the account, definitely.
And I feel like more than other accounts, we're on the platform all the time and see what everyone posts. I think more than other accounts, we also incorporate just personality. Even, obviously through live streams, there's personality in it, but just, even if it's through our captions or through what we're posting on our story, we have like a life highlight story on Instagram where we can kind of like, highlight some little things that we're, doing that involve both Michael and myself. So I think we just like to, tie in that personal aspect a little more. I feel like that goes a long way.
Yeah, I think that along with how you treat your followers, like how much they can tell how much you care about them because if they can tell that you really need them, like the fact that's what I tell a lot of our followers. I would say, and this is the 100% true statement. There is no us without the followers. There just isn't. If they don't follow us, there's no Ballers Nation. It's just not it. So we care a lot about our followers because we understand that you need those followers in order to get bigger and you need their trust to ultimately get them to tell them their friends about us and their families, and that's how you're going to get bigger. You need to be nice, you need to be kind, you need to be all this stuff. You don't want to have a negative image, and that's big. It's important.
Yeah. If you guys know Gary Vee, like that's something he preaches a lot is like being authentic and like real with your following.
It's
So
one of
you
my
guys,
inspirations.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, same here. He's cool. And I know you guys are on TikTok. Wait, you're half and half on Gary Vee, Mike.
I don't agree with what he says. I understand it, but I don't think everything's realistic. But I can see how he gets in people's heads, and I think that's good that he's able to do that because he really does push people to reach for their dreams, and some of them get there, some of them don't, some of them do though.
Yeah.
I think you just gotta like look at Gary's content and say to yourself like, some things I gotta take with a grain of salt. Some things mean the world, and I should listen to 100%. When he talks about how you should act around your parents, there's some things that obviously you might call into question that we've all questioned at one point, but a lot of things he says he's right.
Yeah, I agree. He's all about like pushing out content, which is like basically what you guys are doing. I know you're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Are those the three main ones?
And YouTube a little bit, kind of working on that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So like, what plans do you have in the future for YouTube, and what kind of content you would put out there?
So I'll be honest. I think Michael may disagree. I don't know how much of a future there is in YouTube. I just feel like the space, it's going to be around for a while, unlike all these other social media platforms. I don't know how long they'll be around for, in terms of like being, the top app. But I don't know if there's a future in, longer form content on YouTube just because the space is already so cluttered. And I just feel like it's not worth our time to just transfer a following from one platform to another when I don't see like a tremendous future in it. I like TikTok though, in contrast to YouTube, simply because people could be scrolling on there for hours. It's more casual, and I feel like it's just easier for us to put out more mass content. Put it that way.
And that's the thing about YouTube. If you are going to grow YouTube, you just have to be, especially with how many users there are today, you just have to be extremely different. Unless you like have one of those personalities for like a reaction channel where like you're ready to click this guy's vid because this guy's hilarious. Just whatever he comes out of his mouth after he watches a highlight is hilarious. And if we're being real, him and I sitting next to each other doing what those people are doing who have 3 million followers, not it. Because what are we gonna do? Whoa! They don't care about us, They don't. It's just how it is. We don't have the reactions that they have. It's just not natural.
Right. I think like the average amount of time it takes people to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube is like 22 months or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it would be a lot of work to put in for not like a great return, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is. What do you say?
I was gonna ask, do you think that there's no future at all with like longer term content like YouTube, or do you think like a new platform will take over?
I'll tell you, I think it's about now being unique, and I'll give you an example. People might laugh at me for it. I don't really, okay, so I won't really typically watch YouTube videos longer than like 7-8 minutes just because, depending on the topic, I just feel like there's no potential to keep me entertained for 7 straight minutes or, 7, 8, 10 plus minutes on YouTube. That's why I like the shorter videos that get to the point and I move on. But I'll make the exception. I think that podcasts like this have a future on YouTube. I've watched a few episodes of Logan Paul's podcast, which I've actually found extremely interesting with what he's been doing.
It's like number one in the world or something that.
It is number one, or I don't know, how he compares to Joe Rogan, but he is up there. And I mean, I've listened to like the full episode of the past like 3 or 4 of his podcasts, and I'm a big fan. I really like that. So I mean, me being the average consumer, I feel like there's a future in maybe podcasting like this, an interesting conversation, things people can relate to.
Informative,
but in terms of like 20-minute reaction videos or highlight videos, I don't know if there's a future in that.
That's what I get stuck in, but I agree that I could see that fading away, and stuff like informative and like creative and relatable stuff. People, if you can relate to something, people love it. They just like, that's what's gonna make them click a follow button. If they relate to you, they're like, it's like you ever see posts about like, you guys all saw this in your childhood and you can relate to it because that actually happened in your childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen like, TikToks like that.
And because I see that, I'm like, that totally happened to me. I'm gonna like this picture because it happened to me. It's relatable.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting because I know like podcasts are kind of popular now more than they were in like past years, and I never really thought that potentially they could be like the preferred mode of like content that people will look for.
Do you mind if I ask you like just a question or two out of curiosity?
Yeah, sure.
Do you watch YouTube often, or just like no, not that much?
No, I watch pretty often, I would say.
Who would you say is like one of the people? Do you watch any like entrepreneurial type YouTubers?
Yeah.
Like who, if you want to throw out a name?
There's this like guy named Richard Yu who's like an
Yeah,
entrepreneur. You know him?
I've seen a few of his videos.
He was like
You
an
know, like I'm
entrepreneur.
trying to think. There's I'll tell you a big wave now is what I'm doing now with a jersey company is drop shipping. I don't
Yeah,
know if you.
I I've like I low-key tried that. I didn't put like a great effort into it, but it's it's really saturated, and I feel like the where it's like branded drop shipping is really what you would have to do to be successful.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah,
get bombarded in my recommended feed with, make $1,000 in a week challenge, you know, drop shipping t-shirt store challenge,
yeah, they make it look so easy. That's why I
and
tried it.
everything looks so easy that I've fallen for it too. I mean, like the videos are very well put together, but there's so many of them now, and I feel like a lot of YouTube is being taken over in that regard also, which I'm
So
not
it's a lot
complaining.
of like repeated content, kind of.
Yeah.
What are some other like entrepreneurial YouTube channels that you like to watch?
Biaheza, you know him?
Oh yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah.
I as a person, I think he's dope. I love his videos.
Yeah, yeah, so
I
do I.
I really don't subscribe to people often just because I feel like all the videos I want to see just come up on my recommended.
Right.
Him and like a couple other channels are the ones, not related to entrepreneurial type stuff, are ones that like I've actually subscribed to. Biahez is one of my favorite. But he just invested in a rental property, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I saw that. What about Stephen Graham or Stephen Graham? Do you know him?
Uh, I don't know.
Okay. Well, so let's see. I got like a few pointers here. Stuff I was gonna ask you. Oh yeah. So Michael, I remember you telling me this at school that someone had reached out to you on LinkedIn asking to like write an article about you guys. So do you want to like talk a little
Yep.
bit about that?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that actually because, with all this going on right now, she kind of like didn't reach out to me for a while and she just got back to me this week and I had the call with her yesterday. And she she goes to Indiana and it's
Hmm.
for her like school newspaper and it's about just she just wanted to ask me about like how it all started, kind of like what you asked us, how it all started and plans in the future and how like what are your hobbies, stuff like how this all come together, right? And it was interesting because I like when I get stuff like that, especially she's actually going to interview Ross in a couple days. I'm sure she's going to reach out to him to get his side of it so she can write the story. But this is what happened when I got that message. I was kind of just like, wow, this only happened because we have this account. Without that account, I'm not getting any messages on my LinkedIn, and there's nothing really to have on my LinkedIn. It was just weird because it really put into perspective for me that this is something that could stay with us for potentially the rest of our lives, depending on how it all goes. And it's just such a ride, like such a grind, and the amount of time that goes into this stuff, and for it to be recognized, it's just like I can sleep at night because of that. Like we put so much time, right? So much time. It's
It's
like
true.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable how much time we put in, and it's just people are starting to notice because we're growing bigger, and it's actually like it's crazy to me. Like, I got a job because of the account. It's just kind of like surreal almost, and just to know that this is kind of the beginning for us. We have like so many more future plans.
I got two things. One, did she ever say how she ran across the account in the first place, or no?
Yes, that was the part that almost slipped my head. It was so I was an ambassador for an app called The Score,
Oh, right.
and
Okay.
she was an ambassador too, and so that's how she connections. That's how she found the account, and she said that I saw you're an ambassador, and then I saw on your LinkedIn you had this account. I looked it up. It's really cool. Want to do an interview, and just like that, we built a connection. Connections are
And then the other thing I wanted to say, just in terms of time commitment, and maybe this reflects the amount of time and thought that goes into the content we create. One of my least favorite things to do, it gets on my nerves a lot. I mean, I'm on my phone like way more than the average person in the day. I think my phone time, screen time is like 13 hours sometimes,
Wow.
which is a lot. Um, and I almost take pride in the fact that, at night when I'm in bed, I go on my phone and then I put it down. I hate when I pick it back up. I do not want to pick my phone back up once I put it down. And most nights I find myself like falling to sleep while thinking of post ideas, but the problem is I'll forget them if I wake up in the morning, so I always hate having to pick my phone back up, write down the idea, and I've done it like I think like 2 nights ago. I must have picked up my phone and I was pissed at myself, but they were good ideas. I thought of like four or five times, I think, and it really got on my nerves, but like I just feel like that kind of shows how much thought goes into it. Like every second of the day is always like, what's next? What's next?
Yeah, it's not even just like solely thinking about Instagram. It's just like I said, just getting the brand bigger and establishing it on other platforms. Like that's part of it too. Like us being on TikTok and scrolling on TikTok to see what does well and what doesn't. That's part of building our brand because we want to know what these things are happening on this app to eventually make our brand bigger. It's all this little stuff. Like we could be on our phone scrolling all day and we could be on watching a YouTube video and we'll get the idea, oh, we should do this type of stuff if we're going to invest in YouTube, even if we don't decide to do it. We're always thinking about the big picture of what our brand is.
So you're always kind of trying to find the trends and see what's hot at the moment.
Yep.
I think trends and just being different.
Like adding your own spice to it.
Exactly.
Which is definitely important right now.
So I think a question that like probably a lot of people have, I think I've asked Michael this, is like, you guys put so much time into this, like what monetary like return do you get? So I know you do like Mike, when I asked this to Michael, he said you do like some shout outs, but like not as many as you could be doing. Like, is that accurate?
Yeah, so if you want my perspective of this, I'm happy with the money that's coming in. And in all honesty, I think Mike would agree with this too. I'm not in it for the money, truthfully. I know there's potential. I know there's potential to make more money, but my focus is growth. And I know that from a content creator's perspective, that if I'm putting out an advertisement every single day, my followers might start to lose a little bit of trust in me. They might think I'm in it for the money and not necessarily, as a passion to share the content that they're equally as passionate about. So I'm generally very careful with the things that we advertise. Michael can confirm, if there's one thing in question about the picture or, any tiny speck of shadiness in the caption or picture, I'll either say change it or we're not advertising for you, because to be quite frank with you, your advertisement isn't as important to me in terms of making money as it might seem to you. So that's just the truth. I like to be very careful about it. And we like, if we do advertise something, I prefer in, sports related, like a phone case with a basketball player on it,
Right. I think that keeps it like authentic as like, because it's so easy to tell when there's an account that's just taking every shout out opportunity and just trying to make as much money as possible. Like you can tell.
And then there are accounts that reach out to companies that might have nothing to do with their page, and they'll say, "Hey, can I advertise for you?" I've seen that in the past, which to me is crazy, because I mean, I guess you're in it for the money. Maybe you need the quick buck, but like then makes me question what the real focus is.
Right. And then your followers pick up on that, and then it loses that like authentic kind of connection.
Exactly.
So I guess besides like that stuff, like that article that lady reached out to you about, what are some other like opportunities that this kind of account has given you guys?
So I'd say it's opened up an outlet for me to start my own podcast. I just recently recorded one with Nish Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Clutch Points. I've had on Randy Foy, who's a former NBA player in the past.
Yeah,
and I feel like without Ballers Nation, or without that, just it's nice to have an account of this size backing you when you're reaching out to somebody. It just adds a little bit of a sense of credibility, in my opinion. So that definitely helps when reaching out to those people. I feel like that's one thing that the account has opened me up to. And also just like the experiences that we make of it, when we went to New York, I thought that was extremely fun. I had a great burger.
Right. Well, that's what like I said, like I worked on campus as a freshman this semester with our school's athletics account. And the reason that I was able to get that kind of job is because, like you said, with the backing of the 70,000 followers that we had at the time when I was applying for that job, it shows what was the word? Experience.
Yeah.
You have experience, like they can see if you have this big of a following, you must have some sort of experience in this field. You must be like, qualified for this position. And yeah, and that has to be, especially as a freshman, as me coming in first semester and saying, I want to be on your team right now. Put me on the team right now. They have to, like, that's the proof. The proof's in front of their face. There's not really more to it. I applied for it too. I was like, I have this account. Can I work for you? And they were like, coming for an interview. And right before I know it, I got the job. I don't know what usually the guidelines are for interviews like that, but it was definitely different for someone who had an account like that because it's not common, I would say.
So I guess bringing it a little more generally now, we're about like close to 30 minutes right now, and my computer's like running low on battery, so maybe we could kind of wrap up in like a little while. But I guess I was just gonna say like I know it's something Gary Vee preaches a lot is about like exactly what you guys are doing, like personal branding and stuff like that. So I don't know, like what would you say is like advice to people who are like looking to start their own personal brand in whatever niche it is?
I'll
you guys have done a really good job.
Since I've been consuming Gary's content for a while as well, I would say one thing which is going to go in alignment with another thing that he preaches every day is to not care about what other people think of you.
That was going to be my first point as well.
And you know what? No, take it because, I mean, it's important. You got it. It's just important not to care. Like,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. If Michael and I are on live, there are people that join the live with not the greatest things to say, but it takes a strong person to just read their dumb comment and not, retaliate or not, take it into, any further context, as, not take it personally, I guess you could just say. And I just feel like that's really important. People say things about our posts all the time that they're not happy with it or that they think it's dumb, stupid, talks about something that has no relevance to the account or basketball whatsoever. We get all of it. But I mean, it takes a certain amount of strength that I feel like anybody can acquire to kind of, look beyond that. And, just like Michael said before, look at the bigger picture. If, one guy's going to hate, but two are not, then, two is better than one. So, yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah, I think Ross is a little bit better than at me, and I don't really necessarily have the issue on the account really, but in terms of just straight up not caring what anyone thinks about you, whatever decisions you make, I think I need a little bit of work on that. And that's something that people should be working on because it's not easy to get in that type of mental state to completely, like a Gary Vee type person, to completely. You don't see anything else you don't see the hate. You don't see the hate that's coming into you. It's not going to affect you. And that's a big thing to totally zone out on kind of. So I think there's a little piece of it that's definitely stuck with me. And I think by running this account and keep going, you learn to just less and less focus on the bigger picture and just what you should and shouldn't be paying attention to.
And I'll say one more thing. I know I strayed in my answer a little bit, but I completely forgot about the fact that just this year, and maybe a little bit towards the end of last year, of 2019, I started posting a lot of content from my podcast on my personal. And I started cross-promoting everything. I made it really apparent on my personal account that I owned Ballers Nation, that I was the host of Backstage Ballers. And, I feel like it takes one person, one type of strength to be able to brush off something that something bad someone has to say about you that you have no clue that person is, a random follower of Ballers Nation that might not have the greatest things to say. I can brush that off. But it took another level of me to really be able to brush off what people that I do know, that I went to school with, that didn't know I was involved with anything that they had to say. And I feel like
That's
that
what
was a
it
new level of strength that I had to kind of acquire, which is also important. Something Gary would be very proud of me for.
It's the people who aren't. It's the people who are you're close to, so they're not afraid to judge you on the spot, and the people you've been growing up with. So their opinions did matter to you at one point, and they might still matter. That's why you have to kind of overcome them.
Right.
Yeah, no, I feel you there because when I started kind of like doing more of these like podcasts with my friends and stuff, I would feel kind of like scared because like I'll take little clips out of them and then I put them on like an account that's like just for this podcast. And then like the first time that I was gonna like repost one onto my personal account, I was like low key scared to like I don't know, but I don't even know what I was afraid of because it's like
Right.
who gives
Yeah.
a fuck?
If you post any of these clips on Instagram, I'll repost it on my personal story. If you
Word.
find a good clip, someone says something good, you think it's important, I'll put it on my personal Instagram. We'll put it on Ballers Nation.
Yeah, you know how Gary does his little clips like when it's FaceTimes, like he does like the little Gary V intro
I love
kind of.
those.
That's like what I do. Like I made a little intro thing. It's kind of like that.
You want to know when you're a true fan? You're a true fan when a Gary V video comes up to you, and you know how like you have to, it's, you know, they're typically longer than a minute, so you have to click like the watch button to watch the full thing, like
Yeah.
the IGTV thing. I click that before I even start the video, just so I don't get paused in between once the minute ends.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he talks to so many people and like he that ass changes their life in a phone call. It's crazy.
That's
Dude,
how
the dude gained like 1,000 followers while they were on call.
I saw that. That was
Yeah.
crazy.
That's how he grows so big though, because he's so like just the amount of like random people he'll talk to, and then they're literally gonna tell everyone about it. Like I just talked to Gary V. Gary V. That's 100. You just gained 50 followers from that one person.
Yeah.
Right.
But it all stems from the fact that he's being so genuine because like he's not doing it to like grow like you're saying. Like he does it because he dead ass wants to see people like live their best life and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop recording.